I was sleeping on the floor of a commercial kitchen with my 2 young kids, no papers, no money, and no hope. Nobody knew that the woman serving tacos on the street during the day spent her nights praying that nobody would call immigration. Then a customer filmed my food cart and posted it on TikTok. Within 48 hours, my life changed completely, but not in the way you'd imagine. 8 years ago, I crossed the border with nothing but a backpack and 2 terrified children clinging to my legs. Sophia was 4 then, Diego barely 2. Their father, my ex-husband, had broken my ribs the week before. That was the final time. I'd hidden money for 6 months, $20 here, $10 there, stuffed inside a coffee can buried in the backyard. When I had enough, I called my cousin in Tijuana. She knew someone who knew someone. That's how these things work when you're desperate. The journey took 3 days. I won't describe what happened in that desert. Some memories are better left in the dark places where they belong. What I will say is that Diego cried the entire first day until his voice gave out. Sophia held my hand so tight that her fingernails left marks that lasted for weeks. When we finally made it across, when the coyote dropped us at a gas station in Southern California and drove away, I sat on the curb with both kids in my arms and thought, now what? My cousin had given me a phone number for a woman in Los Angeles who sometimes had rooms available, no questions asked, cash only. When I called, she said she had space in a converted garage, $300 a month. I didn't tell her I only had $400 left total. I said yes anyway. The garage turned out to be one big room with concrete floors and no insulation. We shared it with 2 other families, 1 bathroom for 12 people. I hung bed sheets from the ceiling to create a small corner for us. Sophia and Diego slept on a single mattress on the floor. I slept sitting up against the wall most nights, watching them, listening for any sound that might mean danger. I found work within a week. I had to. Cleaning houses Monday through Friday, washing dishes at a Chinese restaurant on weekends, watching a neighbor's kids some weeknights when their mother worked the graveyard shift. I learned quickly not to make eye contact with anyone official looking. Police, security guards, anyone in a uniform. I learned which grocery stores had the best prices, which churches gave out food on Thursdays, how to stretch $5 until Friday. Sophia started kindergarten. She cried every morning for the first month, terrified I wouldn't be there when school ended. I was always there, even if it meant losing a cleaning job because I had to leave early. My children had already lost too much. They wouldn't lose me, too. For 2 years, we lived like that, barely surviving, always afraid, but we had a routine. Sophia learned English fast, came home teaching me new words. Diego started talking more, stopped having nightmares every single night. I let myself believe we might actually make it. Then March 2020 arrived like a bomb nobody saw coming. Within 1 week, I lost all 3 jobs. The houses I cleaned didn't want anyone coming inside. The restaurant closed completely. The neighbor who paid me to watch her kids got laid off herself. Suddenly, I had no income at all. My savings lasted exactly 7 weeks. I rationed every penny, fed the kids first, skipped meals myself so often that my clothes hung loose on my frame. Sophia noticed. She started leaving half her food on her plate, saying she was full when I knew she wasn't. That broke something inside me. When the landlord came for rent and I couldn't pay, she gave me 3 days. I begged for more time. She shook her head. She had her own problems, her own family to feed. I understood. Understanding didn't make it less terrifying. We moved into my car, a 1998 Honda Civic with a broken air conditioner and a passenger door that wouldn't open from the inside. I parked in different places every night. Walmart parking lots, residential streets where nobody paid attention. Once behind a church, until a security guard knocked on the window at 2 in the morning and told us to move. Sofia and Diego slept in the back seat with every blanket and pillow I'd managed to keep. I slept in the driver's seat, one eye always half open. We ate from food banks, peanut butter sandwiches, canned soup heated on a camping stove I bought at a thrift store. The kids brushed their teeth in public bathroom sinks. We bathed using wet wipes and bottled water. Sofia stopped smiling. Just stopped. Her teacher sent home a note saying she seemed withdrawn, asking if everything was okay at home. I wrote back that we were fine, just adjusting to pandemic life like everyone else. I don't think she believed me. Diego started wetting the bed again, except we didn't have a bed. He wet himself at night in the car, and I had to wash his clothes in gas station bathrooms, hanging them to dry on the door handles while we drove around during the day pretending we had somewhere to be. I thought about going back to Mexico. At least there we had family, a place to stay. But then I remembered why we left. The bruises, the broken ribs. The night he held a knife to my throat while the kids watched. No, we couldn't go back. We had to survive here somehow. One night in August, the car died. Just stopped running on the freeway. I managed to coast to the shoulder, hazards blinking, cars screaming past us in the dark. A tow truck came eventually. The driver said the engine was shot. Repairs would cost more than the car was worth. I stood there on the side of the road with 2 exhausted children and everything we owned crammed in a dead car. And I didn't know what to do. For the first time since crossing the border, I actually thought about giving up. About walking into an ICE office and asking them to deport us. At least in detention they'd feed the kids, but I didn't. A man in a pickup truck pulled over. He said he'd seen us sitting there for an hour. He owned a restaurant a few miles away. Said he could tow the car to his parking lot, that we could stay in it there until I figured things out. His name was Manuel. He didn't ask questions. The next morning, he found me crying in the parking lot, trying to figure out how to get the kids to school without a working car. He studied me for a long moment, then said, "I have a proposal. His restaurant had a commercial kitchen that nobody used after 10 at night. If I cleaned it every morning before the staff arrived, we could sleep there. Not in the dining area, in the back, in the kitchen, after closing." I stared at him, certain I'd misunderstood. He repeated it. I asked what he wanted in return. He said, "Just keep it clean, keep it quiet, and don't tell anyone." I agreed before he could change his mind. That night, we moved into a restaurant kitchen. The floors were hard and cold. The fluorescent lights buzzed all night. It smelled like grease and disinfectant. But it was warm. It was safe. The kids could shower in the employee bathroom. We had access to running water, electricity, a roof that didn't leak. For the first time in months, I slept more than 2 hours straight. Manuel arrived at 5 every morning to start prep. By then, I'd already cleaned everything, erased any trace that we'd been there. He'd nod, hand me a bag of leftover food from the night before, and start his day. He never asked about my situation, never mentioned immigration, never made me feel like I owed him anything beyond what we'd agreed. Some people are just good. Manuel was one of them. Living in that kitchen, I started noticing things, the equipment, the ingredients, the way the morning prep cook made his salsa, the way the line cooks moved during dinner rush. I'd spent my whole childhood in my grandmother's kitchen in Guadalajara. She'd taught me to make tortillas by hand, to slow-cook carnitas until the meat fell apart, to blend the perfect mole sauce using 20 different ingredients. Those recipes lived in my hands, in my muscle memory. One night, after everyone had gone home, I used some of the leftover ingredients, just a small amount. I made a batch of my grandmother's salsa verde. I made fresh tortillas. I cooked some pork shoulder that was about to expire anyway, using her carnitas recipe. The smell filled the kitchen, warm and familiar and heartbreaking. Sofia walked in, stopped and said, "That smells like Abuela's house." Diego asked if we could eat. We sat on the floor of that kitchen, the three of us, eating carnitas tacos I'd made from memory. It was the first real meal we'd had in months, the first time I'd cooked something that wasn't just about survival. The next morning, I packaged the leftover carnitas and tortillas in containers. During lunch, I walked to a construction site a few blocks away where I'd seen workers eating. I approached them carefully, explained I had fresh homemade tacos, asked if anyone was interested. 5 men bought everything I had. They paid cash. $20 total. It was the first money I'd earned in 4 months. I went straight to a grocery store and bought ingredients to make more. That's how it started. Every night after the restaurant closed, I'd use Manuel's kitchen. I'd make tacos, tamales, fresh aguas frescas. Every morning, I'd sell them to construction workers, office workers, anyone walking by. I kept my prices low. $3 for 2 tacos, $5 for 3 tamales. I wasn't trying to get rich, I was trying to survive. But word spread fast. Construction workers told other construction workers. Office workers brought their co-workers. Within 2 weeks, I was selling out every morning. Sofia and Diego started helping after school. Sofia would fold napkins, organize the homemade salsas into small containers. Diego would hand out plasticware, collect money. They were so young, but they understood we were building something together. One afternoon, Sofia said, "Mama, maybe one day we can have our own restaurant." I kissed her forehead and said, "Maybe," even though I didn't believe it. How could I? I was undocumented, homeless, selling food without permits. I was one health inspector away from losing everything. After 3 months of selling from borrowed containers, I'd saved $400. I found a used food cart on Craigslist. It was beaten up, rusty in places, but the wheels worked and the storage compartments were solid. The owner wanted $300. I offered $250. He looked at my kids standing behind me and said, "Okay." I spent the next week painting it. Bright green, white, and red, the colors of Mexico. Across the side, I painted El sabor de casa in careful letters, the flavor of home. Manuel let me store it in his parking lot. Every morning I'd push it 6 blocks to a good corner near office buildings. Every afternoon Sofia and Diego would meet me there after school. Every evening we'd push it back. Clean up and sleep in Manuel's kitchen. It wasn't much, but it was ours. If you've ever felt like you're finally getting somewhere, that maybe things are starting to work out, you know that feeling doesn't last. It never does, not for people like me. Other street vendors started noticing I was getting customers. Some were supportive, gave me advice about which corners had the least police attention. Others weren't so kind. One man told me I was stealing his customers, that I didn't belong there. A woman said I should go back where I came from, that people like me were ruining the neighborhood. I moved corners when I had to, kept my head down, avoided conflict. But the attention kept growing. The police became a problem. Not all of them. Some would walk by, nod, keep going, but others asked for permits I didn't have, licenses I couldn't get. Each time an officer approached, my heart would stop. Each time they asked for ID, I'd feel that familiar terror crawling up my throat. I had a fake ID that Manuel's cousin had sold me for $200. It looked real enough for most people. But I knew if anyone actually ran it through a system, I'd be done. Deported. Separated from my kids. I'd practiced what I'd say if that happened. I'd practiced telling Sofia and Diego that no matter what, they had to be brave, that someone good would take care of them. I'd practiced letting go, but I prayed I'd never have to. One afternoon, a police officer approached while Sofia and Diego were with me. Young guy, looked fresh out of the academy. He asked for my business license, my food handler's permit, my cart registration. I had none of those things. I stood there, frozen, watching my children watch me. Sofia's hand slipped into Diego's. Diego's eyes filled with tears. The officer looked at them, looked at me, looked at the cart with its hand-painted name. Then he said, "You know you can't operate here without proper permits." I nodded. He said, "Find somewhere else." Then he walked away. I didn't move for 5 full minutes. When I finally did, Sofia asked, "Are we in trouble?" I said, "No, Mia, we're okay." But I knew we'd just gotten incredibly lucky. And luck like that doesn't last forever. By winter, I'd saved almost $2,000. It was hidden in 3 different places, cash stuffed inside books, taped under drawers, folded into socks. I was paranoid about keeping it all in one spot. Every penny represented hours of work, hundreds of tacos, countless days of fear. I started scouting small commercial spaces, imagining what it would be like to have a real location. A place with walls and a door I could lock. Somewhere Sofia and Diego could do homework without sitting on a curb. But every space I called asked for documentation I didn't have. Business licenses, tax ID numbers, proof of residency. Even if I could afford the rent, I couldn't sign a lease. I was invisible, undocumented, a ghost. Now, I want to talk to you for a moment. If you've made it this far in my story, thank you. I know it's heavy. I know it's hard to hear. But this is real life for millions of people in this country. If this story resonates with you, if you've experienced something similar or know someone who has, leave the word strength in the comments below. Let's build a community of people who understand what it means to fight for survival. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel. I have more stories to share, and your support means everything. Now let me tell you about the day everything changed. It was a Tuesday in February. Cold, gray, windy. The kind of day where you can't feel your fingers even with gloves on. I'd set up my cart near an office complex in downtown. The lunch rush was steady. Office workers in suits and heels, construction crews on break, delivery drivers grabbing something quick. I'd learned everyone's usual orders. Extra cilantro for the guy in the blue jacket, no onions for the woman with the red scarf, light on the salsa for the older man who always paid exact change. These people kept me alive. They didn't know it, but they did. Around 1 o'clock, a young woman approached, mid-20s maybe, stylish in that effortless way some people have. She ordered a carnitas taco and a pollo taco. While I prepared her food, she asked where I was from. "Guadalajara," I said, keeping it simple. She asked how long I'd been doing this. "A while," I said. She asked if I'd always wanted to work with food. I smiled and said, My grandmother taught me everything I know. She nodded, watching me work. My hands moved automatically, warming tortillas on the flat top, layering meat, adding fresh cilantro and diced onions, a squeeze of lime, a spoonful of salsa verde, each taco made with the same care I'd give to food for my own children. She ate standing there, right in front of the cart. After the first bite, she closed her eyes. When she opened them, she said, "This tastes like my grandmother's cooking." I smiled wider. That's the best compliment you can give. She finished both tacos, thanked me, and walked away. I didn't think anything of it. Just another satisfied customer. Just another $3 in my cash box. I had no idea she'd recorded the whole interaction on her phone. I had no idea she was about to change my life. 2 days later, my phone started exploding. I had an old smartphone, barely functioning, that I kept for emergencies. It was buzzing nonstop. Messages from numbers I didn't recognize, notifications I didn't understand. I opened one message. It was a link to TikTok. Someone had sent me a video. I clicked it. There I was, preparing tacos at my cart. The video was filmed from a customer's perspective. You could see my hands working. You could see Sophia in the background organizing napkins, Diego counting coins. The person who filmed it, that young woman, had added a caption. "This woman makes the best Mexican food I've ever tasted outside of Mexico, and she does it all from a food cart with her beautiful kids helping after school. Support local. Support real food. Support people like this." The video had 2.3 million views. 2.3 million. I sat down on the curb, staring at the number. Sophia saw my face. "Mama, what's wrong?" I showed her the video. She watched it, then looked at me with wide eyes. "That's us?" Diego climbed onto my lap to see. He pointed at the screen. "That's me. I'm famous." I wasn't sure what to feel. Terrified, excited, confused, all at once. The comment section was overwhelming. Hundreds of people saying they wanted to try my food. Dozens asking where I was located. Some saying they'd already been to my cart and could confirm it was incredible. But there were other comments too. People asking if I had permits, people questioning if the food was safe. One person wrote, "Bet she's illegal." Someone else replied, "Who cares? Her food looks amazing." That afternoon, everything changed. By noon, there was a line. Not a normal lunch line. A line that stretched around the corner. People holding phones, taking pictures, recording videos. Some of them had driven from other parts of the city just to try my tacos. I sold out in 2 hours. Everything. Every tortilla, every container of meat, every salsa. People at the end of the line looked disappointed when I said I had nothing left. They asked when I'd be back tomorrow. "Same time," I said, still in shock. "Same place." Sophia and Diego couldn't believe it. We pushed the empty cart back to Manuel's parking lot, and Sophia kept saying, "Mama, you're famous." Diego asked if we were rich now. I laughed. The first real laugh I'd had in months. Not rich, mijo. But maybe things will get a little easier. That night, lying on the kitchen floor after the kids fell asleep, I let myself hope. Maybe this was the break we needed. Maybe something good was finally happening. But I also felt a creeping fear, because with visibility comes risk. And I was a woman with no papers, no legal right to be here, no protection. Viral meant seen. And being seen, for someone like me, wasn't always safe. The next morning, I bought twice as many ingredients, cooked twice as much food. By 10:30, there was already a line forming. By noon, it was chaos. People everywhere, taking photos, posting videos. Some were genuinely there for the food. Others just wanted to be part of the trend. I served everyone I could, moving as fast as possible, my hands cramping from repetitive motion. Sofia and Diego worked non-stop, Sofia taking orders, Diego handing out napkins and forks. They were exhausted by 2 o'clock, but they didn't complain. We were a team. We'd always been a team. Then I saw him, a man in a suit with a clipboard, walking toward my cart with purpose. My stomach dropped. Health inspector. He didn't even say hello, just started asking questions. Do you have a business license, a food handler's permit? Where do you prepare this food? Do you have proper refrigeration? Each question felt like a trap. I answered carefully, vaguely. He wrote everything down. Then he said, "I'll need to see documentation." I told him I'd have to get back to him on that. He handed me a card. "You have 2 weeks to provide proof of compliance or you'll be shut down, possibly fined." He walked away, and I felt the ground shift under me. That evening, a reporter from a local newspaper approached. She said she'd seen the TikTok video, wanted to do a story on me. I panicked. A story meant more attention. More attention meant more risk. She asked about my background, how I started the business, where I was from. I gave short answers. She pressed, "Are you documented?" I froze. "That's personal," I said. She nodded, but I saw the look in her eyes. She knew, or suspected. The next day, her article came out. It was mostly positive, calling me an inspiring immigrant entrepreneur, but there were lines that made my blood run cold. While her food has captured the hearts and stomachs of thousands online, questions remain about the legal status of her business and possibly her residency. The backlash started immediately. People who'd praised me days before suddenly had concerns. Is she even allowed to be here? Is this food safe? Are we supporting illegal activity? Others defended me fiercely. She's feeding people. She's working hard. Who cares about paperwork? The comment section became a battlefield. My TikTok video, which had brought so much opportunity, now felt like a spotlight I couldn't escape. Sofia asked me one night, "Mama, are we going to have to leave?" I held her close. "I don't know, mija. I honestly don't know." Diego overheard. He started crying. "I want to stay here. This is home now." I kissed his forehead. "I know, baby. Me too." Then, something unexpected happened. An immigration attorney named Rebecca Lawson reached out. She'd seen my story. She said she worked with organizations that helped undocumented immigrants navigate the legal system. She offered to help me pro bono. I was suspicious at first. Why would someone help me for free? But she explained that she believed in the work, that she'd seen too many families torn apart. She asked about my situation. I told her everything, the abuse, the escape, the years of hiding. She listened without judgment. Then she said, "You may qualify for a U visa. It's for victims of certain crimes, including domestic violence. If we can document what happened in Mexico, we might have a case, not a guarantee, just a possibility. The process could take years. I'd still be undocumented during that time, still vulnerable. But it was hope. The first legal hope I'd had since crossing the border. I agreed to work with her. She started gathering documents, contacting authorities in Mexico, building my case. Meanwhile, I still had to survive, still had to feed my kids, still had to run my cart while dodging health inspectors and immigration rumors. Then came the offer I didn't expect. A local businessman named Richard Chen approached me one afternoon. He'd eaten at my cart, loved the food, said he wanted to invest in me, help me open a real restaurant. I was stunned. "A restaurant?" He nodded. "I see potential here. You've got a following. You've got talent. With the right investment and business structure, you could be huge. I asked what he wanted in return. He said 60% ownership. I handle all the business side. You handle the food. 60%. That meant he'd own more of my restaurant than I would. That meant he'd make all the decisions. I'd just be the cook. The face. I thanked him and said I'd think about it. He handed me his card and said, "Don't think too long. Opportunities like this don't wait." That night, I couldn't sleep. 60% felt like losing control. But maybe control wasn't the point. Maybe survival was. Maybe I needed to swallow my pride and accept help, even if it meant giving up ownership. But something in my gut said no. This was my grandmother's food, my story, my struggle. If I was going to build something, it needed to be mine. Sophia found me sitting in the dark. She sat beside me. "What's wrong, Mama?" I told her about the offer. She thought for a moment, then said, "Abuela wouldn't want someone else to own her recipes." I smiled. "You're right, mija. Abuela wouldn't." The answer came from a place I didn't expect, the community. Word spread that I was struggling, that I needed help to take the next step but didn't want to lose control of my business. The Latino community in the area, people I'd never met, started organizing. A local church held a fundraiser, a community center set up a GoFundMe. Other immigrants, some documented, some not, contributed what they could, $10 here, $20 there. Some gave more. Within 3 weeks, they'd raised enough for a deposit on a small commercial space. I cried when they presented me with the envelope of cash. These were people who had their own struggles, their own bills, their own fears, but they helped me anyway. Because that's what community does. It holds you up when you can't stand on your own. Finding a space was the next challenge. I couldn't sign a lease in my name. I didn't have the documentation. Rebecca, my attorney, connected me with a woman named Rosa, who ran a nonprofit helping immigrant entrepreneurs. Rosa had a business license. She agreed to sign the lease on my behalf with the understanding that I'd manage the space and eventually, when my legal situation was resolved, transfer everything to my name. It was risky for her, generous beyond measure, but she believed in me, and belief, I was learning, could move mountains. The space we found was tiny, a corner unit in a strip mall. It had been a sandwich shop before. The equipment was old, the walls were stained, the floor tile was cracked, but it had a kitchen, tables, a front door that locked. It was perfect. Sophia walked through it and said, "This is ours." I nodded. Diego ran from corner to corner, claiming spaces. "This can be where we put the register. This can be where people wait. This can be where we hang pictures." Their excitement made me believe it was possible. Renovating took 2 months. I couldn't hire professional contractors. Too expensive. Instead, friends from the community helped. Manuel taught me how to fix the old stove. Rosa's husband repainted the walls. A group of women from church sewed curtains. Sophia and Diego painted a mural on one wall, bright colors and images of Mexico, of home. We worked every evening after I finished at the cart, sometimes until midnight. My hands were covered in paint and plaster and exhaustion, but we were building something real. Opening day was terrifying. I'd advertised on social media, posted the address, set a date, but I had no idea if anyone would show up. What if the TikTok fame had faded? What if people had moved on to the next viral food trend? The night before, I barely slept. I cooked all night, preparing everything I could in advance: tortillas, salsas, marinated meats, fresh agua de horchata. By 5 in the morning, the restaurant smelled like my grandmother's kitchen. Sofia and Diego woke up early, dressed in matching shirts I'd made with the restaurant logo. We opened the doors at 11. There was already a line outside. 30 people, maybe more. Some I recognized from the cart. Others were new faces. As the day went on, the line never disappeared. People kept coming. They ate. They posted photos, they left reviews. By 3 o'clock, we'd run out of tortillas. By 5, we'd run out of almost everything. I apologized to people in line, promised we'd be better prepared tomorrow, but they didn't seem upset. They seemed happy. One woman hugged me and said, "This place is special. Don't ever change." That night, after we closed, after we cleaned, after the kids fell asleep on the benches because they were too tired to walk, I stood in the middle of my tiny restaurant and cried. Not sad tears. Relief tears. We'd made it. We'd actually made it. But the fear didn't disappear. It never does when you're undocumented. Every car that slowed down outside made me tense. Every customer who looked at me too long made me wonder if they were immigration. I still slept with a bag packed, ready to run if I had to. Rebecca kept working on my U-visa application. She said we had a strong case, but the system was backed up. It could take 2 years, maybe more. Until then, I was still vulnerable, still illegal in the eyes of the law, still one bad day away from losing everything. 3 months after opening, 2 men in suits walked into the restaurant. ICE, immigration, and customs enforcement. My heart stopped. Sofia and Diego were in the back doing homework. I stepped forward, blocking their view of the kitchen. "Can I help you?" One of them smiled. "We heard this is the best Mexican food in the city. Wanted to try it for ourselves. They ordered tacos. I made them, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the spatula." They ate at a table near the window. They talked quietly to each other. I couldn't hear what they were saying. Every second felt like an hour. When they finished, they came to the counter. One of them said, "That was incredible. Best carnitas I've had in years." The other nodded. "We'll definitely be back." Then they left. Just like that. Paid, tipped, left. I collapsed against the counter, gasping for air. Sofia ran out. "Mama, what's wrong?" I couldn't speak, I just held her. Diego came over too. We stood there in a huddle, the 3 of us, in the middle of the restaurant. I don't know if those men knew who I was. I don't know if they suspected. Maybe they were just hungry. Maybe they genuinely wanted tacos. Or maybe they knew exactly who I was and chose to let me be. I'll never know. But that moment, that terror, reminded me that my freedom was fragile, that any day could be the last day. 2 years after opening the restaurant, Rebecca called. Her voice was calm, but I could hear the excitement underneath. "Your U-visa was approved." I had to ask her to repeat it. Approved. "You're legal now, not permanent yet, but you have status. You can work, you can exist without fear. For the first time in almost a decade." I dropped the phone, picked it up, dropped it again. Sofia asked what happened. I told her. She started crying. Diego asked what it meant. I said, "It means we're safe. We're finally safe." He hugged me and said, "Good." I was tired of being scared. The next few months were a blur of paperwork, applications, processes, getting a driver's license with my real name, opening a bank account without hiding, signing the lease for the restaurant in my own name. Small things that most people take for granted felt like miracles to me. I could exist openly. I could build a future without constantly looking over my shoulder. The restaurant kept growing. We hired more staff, most of them immigrants like me, people who needed a chance. Sophia started community college, studying business administration. She said she wanted to help expand the restaurant one day. Diego talked about becoming a chef. They had dreams now, real, tangible dreams, and I had the privilege of watching them grow into those dreams. Today, El Sabor de Casa has 15 employees. We've been featured in magazines, on local news, even a short segment on a national cooking show. People travel from other cities to eat here. We're booked weeks in advance for weekend dinners. I still cook every day, still make my grandmother's recipes with the same care I always have. But now I do it without fear, without wondering if today is the day everything falls apart. The TikTok video that started all this has over 10 million views now. People still comment on it, still share it. Some comments are cruel, some are beautiful. I don't read them anymore because the video isn't the story. The video was just a moment. The story is everything that came before and everything that came after. I think about that night in the desert sometimes, crossing the border with 2 terrified children. I think about sleeping in a car, in a kitchen, on floors and in corners and anywhere we could find. I think about the fear that lived in my chest for so long, it became part of my heartbeat. And I think about the people who helped. Manuel, who gave us a place to sleep. Rebecca, who fought for my legal status. Rosa, who signed papers in her name. The community that raised money, the customers who kept coming back. I didn't do this alone. Nobody does. We survive because of each other. So let me ask you, what do you think? Have you ever had to start over from nothing? Have you ever been so afraid that you didn't know if you'd survive the day? Have you ever experienced the kindness of strangers when you needed it most? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. And if this video moved you, if it made you think, if it reminded you of your own struggles or the struggles of people you love, please subscribe to this channel. I have so many more stories to share, stories of survival and resilience and hope, stories that need to be heard. Thank you for listening to mine.